The quartet's peace envoy. Good evening and thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure, thank you.
You have been traveling back and forth Ramallah in the past couple of days trying to negotiate. To the best of your understanding, why is Hamas refusing to cease fire?
I don't know. The truth is this is an Egyptian initiative that's got the support of the Arab League. It's got the support of, in fact, the Palestinian Authority and President Abbas. It's got the support of the international community. Just came off the phone with the UN Secretary General. He's supporting it. We're all supporting it. And, you know, the ceasefire that Egypt wants to see put in place will then allow the parties to come and to talk through the issues and then to put in place a long-term plan for Gaza that gives the Gazan people some hope for the future and gives Israel some security for the future. So there's no reason not to accept this proposal and every reason to accept it.
So we're waiting for Hamas, but maybe this is the time to realize that we can't count on a terror group that, just as 2008 and 2012, this time again in a few months, Hamas will start launching rockets to Israel again. Why should the Israeli public today rely upon this agreement?
Well, I think one of the things that's interesting, and maybe this is what's discomforting Hamas, is that this is an initiative put forward by President Sisi and the Egyptian government, the new Egyptian government. They are also making it quite clear, and this is reflected in the conversations I had with President Sisi, that they want a long-term plan for Gaza that does open Gaza back up and give its people some hope and opportunity, but also, crucially, deals with the real and security requirements of Israel in a permanent way. And what that means is that if there is a unification of Gaza and the West Bank, there's got to be one authority, one rule of law, and that means that Hamas cannot carry on with the military infrastructure that it has. So that the plan that is being put forward takes absolutely account of the fact that for the Israeli population, actually for many of the Gazans, they don't want a solution that's another short-term fix.
Yeah.
They want a solution that's long-term and permanent.
Well, the citizens aren't the problem, that's obvious. But beyond the past week, beyond the current situation, do you think there is a real solution for the problem called the Gaza Strip, or we will all meet here again in a year or two in the next escalation?
I think it would be possible if we get a ceasefire now that we could put in place such a long-term plan. Because I think it's worth taking into account what the interests not just of Israel are, but the interests of the region as a whole. You know, if you look at Egypt or the Gulf states, they're all facing the same issues to do with terrorism. And they're all facing the same issues to do with extremism. So, in fact, everyone has a combined interest today in making sure that whether you're Israeli or you're Egyptian or you're from the international community, that a solution for Gaza deals with the essential nature of the problem. And that means that just as Gaza gets opened up and its people given some hope, at the same time we deal with these long-term security requirements of Israel. And, you know, look, what I keep saying to people in the international community is, you know, no government could be in a position where rockets are fired indiscriminately at their people and not take action. And the tragedy is, of course, this is where the tragic loss of life in Gaza is that these rockets are fired from residential areas. They deliberately use areas where there are large numbers of people congregated, and so you end up with the innocent dying as well as the militants, and it's a tragedy for the people of Gaza.
In 2008, Prime Minister Olmert went into Gaza and he received the backing of the international community. This isn't the situation this time. Is Prime Minister Netanyahu paying the price for what is seen by the world, his refusal to really take brave acts with the Palestinians?
I don't think that's the issue right now. And I think, by the way, the international community was behind the ceasefire. Israel stopped today. Hamas hadn't stopped. Now, if they don't stop, the situation will continue. I think the issue really now is whether Hamas can take the decision to give us an opportunity to put in place a proper solution for Gaza. So, yes, of course, people were very disappointed that the peace negotiations broke down. But right now, it's a very simple situation. I've been a prime minister. I mean, I know if 80 rockets were being fired at British citizens, there's no way I wouldn't be taking action. And by the way, if any Israeli prime minister failed to take action, the people would be saying, this is unacceptable. So I know what the situation is here. The tragedy is, of course, that when you then take action, because of the way that they fire the rockets from the residential areas, because your military power is so much greater, then innocent people die as well. And then people see those pictures on the television, and outside in the international world, then people turn against Israel. I mean, this is,
you know, it's really interesting because many Israelis are concerned of the way Israel is perceived in Europe, in the media, in the public eye. Because what many Israelis say is it's a double standard, because they show obviously the devastating things that are happening in the Gaza Strip, but they don't talk as much about the Hamas taking human shields.
No, and also the fact that if Israel didn't have its defense system, the Iron Dome, and it didn't have evacuation procedures in place, then many Israeli citizens would die. I mean, so it's not a lack of intent on Hamas's part to kill Israelis that has saved the lives. It's the actions you're taking. Look, I try and explain this to people the whole time, but the reality is, and I think Hamas know this, the visual impact of you know, what are the horrible and tragic loss of life on the Palestinian side, that makes the impact and carries emotions, perfectly understandably. However, that's why it was important for the Israeli government to accept this Egypt proposal, because I think the Israeli government was saying, right, we are prepared to stop and to sit down and find a way forward.
On a personal note, you have been here through a couple of sirens. How stressful was it?
Look, it's more stressful, I think, for those Israelis that have to face this all the time. And I think it's particularly hard, especially if you've got young children. It's a very, you know, it's hard to explain, and it's hard to know how much, you know, how much to tell them and so on. And so I know I'm the least of the problems. But in respect of Gaza today, I don't believe anything works that is a short-term fix. You've got to put in place something that is a genuine long-term plan.
We're all waiting for Hamas. Mr. Tony Blair, thank you once again for this interview.